10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, I'm Amanda with DevExpress, and today I am here with Don Wibier. Hey Don, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. Don, do you want to recap what we did in our last video?
Yeah, it's been a while because there was some conference like Build in between, and
Oh yeah, we did have build.
yeah. So yeah, let's do a small little recap. I mean, yeah, the plan. Yes, the stuff that we did was to build a simple game called Tic Tac Toe. I happen to have that here. So let's see what we've done the last stream. So here we have it.
Okay, there's Tic Tac Toe.
Yeah, and oh yeah, I know what I changed. If we go to the game, but yeah, what is a bit so in this game? I mean, it works, but now you have to tell me where you want to put it.
Oh right, I'll do the middle.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah. So this is a bit not really cool because it would be better if we could actually, if you were on your computer, I was clicking on my computer, and we could do it like that.
Right.
So a real interactive tic-tac-toe game. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. But you could imagine that while we have this game working now, it's a bit more work. There's a bit more things that we need to think about before we can actually do this interactively.
So what are we going to do today?
Well, there are a couple of things that we need to think about, like we need to identify ourselves to the system, so the system knows, like, Don is online, Amanda is online, maybe some more people are online and they want to play tic-tac-toe with each other as well. And so we need to somehow maintain some state and on the server, and we need to use SignalR. That would be the most convenient way to, yeah, if you click, SignalR message is being sent to the server, that will be broadcasted to my game, and somehow we need to get connected as well. So that's what we're going to start with. And the first thing to do is probably to start using identity, which comes with Blazor, that allows us to set up an account, and then we can do some stuff with those accounts. So I guess we should first take a look on how to set that up.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so when I created this project, maybe you still remember, there was an option. I used the DevExpress project template, and the project template has this option whether we want to use identity and if we want to use usernames and accounts. I ticked that box when we started because I thought it was gonna happen somehow. So I have a bunch of stuff which has already been configured, but let's have a quick look on what the project wizard has been doing. So we have, for instance, the database has been set up. So we have a connection string here with a database exception. So this uses the standard entity framework connection. It will try to connect to the database, and it will configure users, passwords, etc. But before we can do that, we need to run the application and have the database created. One of the other things that has been created is inside my server application, there is an account folder, and the account folder has all the login page. All right, so let's first take a look, because we just ran the project gallery, and this has all been set up. So if I would now run, and as you can see, there is this /account/register thing in the URL. So if we would go run the application again, we could even go to that location. So here, if I go to account, then it was register, we'll get this nice registration page. So let's fill a couple of things in here. The password, let's let's keep that simple. And let's try if it was simple by repeating it. And what we will get is probably an error message because Entity Framework needs to have that database created. So this is exactly what I was expecting. What you can see is, the database cannot be opened. And we also need to do the .NET EF database update. Or from within Visual Studio, we need to give this command. So let's quickly do that. In the Package Manager console, it should now organize the database with the tables and everything in there. So as we can see, the build has succeeded. A whole bunch of SQL is being executed. And now, if I go back, where was that? That was right here. You see that it already has been updated.
All right, all right.
Yeah, so typically if I would now go to, I have to check what the URL is for that. So I could now actually go to the login page, which is also scaffolded. So that's this one. And technically I would now be able to log into the system. So here it is. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't say anything right now, but I'm logged on to the system.
It accepted it? So you're...
Yeah. I can actually go, if I go back to the account slash login, and I would enter something else with another password, which is probably wrong.
This is clearly incorrect.
How did you know?
It was much longer
But
than the
anyway,
first one.
yeah, I know. Yeah. So, but as you can see now, there is an invalid login attempt. So typically, this is the first step. And now, because we have set this up, we can go to our main page because we want people, if they want to play, they need to register or log in. So what we can do now is, if I would go to my index or the start page, typically. Let's see, where is that thing? In components, and then we go to pages here. So like this, I can now put a small attribute to it. So if I would now just state here, attribute authorize, I do need to resolve this namespace, and I will put it, it's better to put it in the imports. So we can all use it like this. Okay, so now I have decorated this control with the authorize. And what happens now is, if I would run the application again, I do need to close down my browser, I guess. Let's do that. It will now redirect me directly to the login page, because I put on the home page the index file. I said you need to be authorized here. So if I will now log in, we will go back to the index file. And so this is typically the first step that we have achieved now. So we are able to identify whoever wants to play.
So Don, are you able to give me that link and I can do that?
No, not yet. No, I have, this is running on local host.
Got it. Oh, okay.
And I couldn't fix it that quickly to put it on Azure, or somehow give you access to this instance. It should be possible, but
not yet.
It will take a bit of time to figure out how that works.
Okay.
So,
I just want to have control over my own Tic Tac Toe board.
Yeah, I mean, we will definitely play at some stage Tic Tac Toe.
I don't want you making choices for me. All right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be patient. Sorry, Don. Continue.
thank you. All right, so if we would now go to the Tic Tac Toe, well, actually, this page. Oh, I need to change that link. I'm not sure why I didn't do that in the first place, but let's change that link to game. And typically, you can only play that game if you are logged in. So what we'll do is in the Tic Tac Toe Razor file, I will put in that same attribute. So I will tell Blazor, if you want to play that game, you need to be authorized. And for this, I will also need to include the authorization namespace like this. And what we can also do, I removed some code from the initial the initial page that was created by the project by the template wizard. But let me put that code back in because I remember I copied that over. So in this case, what I'll do is I will grab that stuff. It's just a bit of simple markup here. And what I'll do is I'll put that right here. I have just included this standard authorized view component that comes with Blazor. And that authorized view component has typically two views. One for authorized users and the other one is for not authorized. So anonymous users, basically. And it will show either of the two, depending on the state of the application and your state, basically. So, but now what we can also see is who we are. So that's actually quite nice. So here.
So right now, I am not authorized. I represent not authorized.
Yeah, well, typically, if I run the application again, I probably need to log on as well. So we are both not authorized at this stage. But, oh yeah, I am authorized. But if I will go to the Tic Tac Toe game, what we'll see now is right here that I am logged in. You see?
Oh, yeah. I see you.
And I can also
Can you log out?
log myself out as well. If I do that, I will be redirected to the login page again, because what happens is both pages were needed authorization. And if you're not authorized, you will be redirected to the login
There.
page.
Got it.
Yeah, so this is all pretty much standard behavior that comes with the DevExpress project template.
Right.
But now I need to log on again.
Sorry.
No sweat.
Log out, log in.
Fortunately, I have a pretty simple password. All right. So we have achieved the first step, basically. So now, once this application is somewhere online, which I will put it somewhere, but not now, then people can register on the site and they can log in and they can play tic-tac-toe with themselves, which is not really fun. But
I mean, it's not like it's solitaire.
yeah, well,
Can you make a computer player? Like you play the computer?
yeah, I mean, yeah, you want to play against the machine. Yeah, that would be possible, of course. But then we need to create like a solving algorithm. So if you click something, then we need to check all the combinations and see what is most optimum for the computer to set. So you will always lose, basically, or
Right.
maybe, yeah. I mean, but that's like a story on its own.
Right.
Or we could use chat GTP maybe to make you lose all the time. I don't know.
Oh,
Or maybe ChatGTP is very bad in playing tic-tac-toe.
you don't know?
I don't know. But anyway, so the first thing pretty much has been done. The second thing that we're going to talk about now is we need to configure SignalR so we can actually send messages from one player to another. That is also not too difficult to set up, at least the basics for SignalR. So let's go back to Visual Studio and have a look at the, let me see, let's first have a look at the program CS file, because if we want to use SignalR, there are a couple of things that we need to do. And the first thing is that we need to configure a number of smaller things. These can be found online. It's really quite simple, but the first thing that we'll do is we will need to configure the response compression, which is here. I just put this in. And as you can see, I can type really fast. We need to configure the response compression to turn it on in case of a application / octet stream, and that's something which is necessary for SignalR. The other thing that we need to do is we need to create a hub, a SignalR hub. So basically that holds all the connections, all the connected people, and that is able to send out and receive messages and method calls, basically. And the way that that works is also quite straightforward. What we'll do is all the way down, we have a couple of things here, and I am going to add right here app dot map hub. And in this case, well, this is a wrong assumption from ChatGTP or Copilot, actually, because I don't want to have a chat hub. I want to have a Tic Tac Toe hub. Tic Tac Toe hub. And then I need to specify where that thing is running. So I will call it the game hub. And I'll put as a comment SignalR behind it. As we can see, the Tic Tac Toe hub does not exist yet. So that's another thing that we need to create. And we do that by not necessarily, it's not really needed to create a folder, but I'd like to do that. I'm going to create a folder which I call hubs. And in there, I'm going to create another file. And that is going to be my Tic Tac Toe. Let's make sure that that thing can be resolved here. Oh, and before we can resolve that, I need to derive that from the hub, which is a SignalR base class. All right, so now I have configured my application to start SignalR and configure the hub that I've just been creating. And now we can actually do something on that hub. So what we can do here is, well, for instance, I can create a message or like a method typical to SignalR. So for instance, but with this in place, I now have my first method on the hub configured. But this is typically not what we want because we're going to do much more. But let's first make sure that the application runs. So everything is still running, which is good.
Nice.
And now we could actually try to connect to that hub. So that's something that we can do in the Blazor Tic Tac Toe component. Yeah, so here, if we're going to go to this page, I can now use SignalR, the SignalR client connector. And how does that work? Well, I'm going to create a private hub connection. let's call that thing like this. I probably need to install a package. So what I'll need is the Microsoft ASP.NET Core SignalR client. Now it can be resolved probably. I just realized something here. Let me change this quickly to await this. And now we can start doing something. Oh, as you can see, Copilot is assisting me here by setting up this
Copilot.
hub connection. So here I'm configuring that new that connection builder. I'm using the connection builder to set up a connection to the SignalR hub, and this is the URL that was configured right on this program CS file. This needs to be the same. I mean, SignalR is able to send out messages, if we want to trigger on those messages, we need to configure that. So here we can configure on, and now it depends on what's being done. And let's take this example here. So whenever a received message has been broadcasted from the server, which has one parameter, which is the message, this piece of code will be executed. And this, you can have like a whole list of these methods. And we will actually build a couple of them because we want to exchange the state of the game to different users. And then last but not least, we need to activate the connection. And that is done by await hub connection. Start async. Another thing what is quite common to do is introduce a property which we can check to see whether that connection is still valid. I mean, it could be that at a certain stage the connection is dropped. So if we would do something like this, hub connection dot state is hub connection state. Where is it? Connected. And then last thing that we need to do is that once this control has been disposed, it's no longer needed. We need for that to implement async async dispose.
What does that do?
Why is it complaining again?
Oh, besides cause all those red lines.
Yeah. I'm very good in ignoring, so let's just ignore them. And
Wait, you're just going to ignore all those lines?
yeah,
It makes me nervous, Don.
I know, but I guess they will go away right now. You see? Yeah, the reason why it started was because I put in this directive. It implements the async disposable, but that implementation was not done yet. So as soon as I did the implementation of that interface, which is this piece of code, it was all good. So that's why I was ignoring it.
Got it. You knew.
So
You knew what you were doing.
Control has been done. It should close the connection to SignalR as well. So that's typically what we have done now. And yeah, this is for now the second prerequisite that we've set up. So we've done the identity and we have the SignalR. And if we run, we can even check that if I go to my hub. Where's that thing here? There is a method I can override, and that method is called onConnected async. And let's make this async. So I can remove this. And what we can do is put a breakpoint. Let me put it right here. So we can at least test whether the connection will be set up. So if I put a breakpoint here and run the application, if I go to the Tic Tac Toe component, we should stop here. Oh, there it comes. And as you can see, the client, so the Tic Tac Toe game, has connected to my hub. So now we can do some cool stuff.
Okay.
Now, there is another thing that we need to do, and that is we need to typically get some code out of, well, there's two things that we need to do. We need to know which user is connecting here, because that was something that was not available here. And we need to get that game, which is here. We need to get code out of this, and we need to move that to different parts in the application, because the state of this board, yeah, should be available on both sides. So I guess the first thing that we need to do is we need to figure out who is connecting. And I have spending quite a bit of time on this, to be honest. And typically what you could do, at least this is what the documentation says, I can put an authorize attribute on top of my hub. And that technically would give me the user ID. So if I would now go to the connected, let me see, if I go to the connected thing and I would grab another test variable here, which I will call current user, I could now use this construct. I mean, this is what the documentation says, but for some reason, this does not work all the time, and I have not been able to figure out what goes wrong here. So I'm going to use another approach, which typically will do for Tic Tac Toe. But let's see what happens here. And we need to log in. So this is the problem that I have been facing a number of times, because the hub tells me that I'm not authorized, and I have sent this over to Microsoft as well, because I have the impression that this is not as it should work. We will not dive too far into this, but because we want to play tic-tac-toe. This is a bit of a thing that is that has costed me a bit of time.
Ugh.
So instead, I'm going to do it slightly different. And I mean, I do have to be honest, this is not a best practice to make it like super secure, but for tic-tac-toe, it will do. But okay, I'm going to go to the tic-tac-toe game here, because the problem, yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the problem is. The user is known at this stage because it's shown on the page as well. Remember, on the top right side.
Right.
So I'll do this slightly. I'll get that user anyway, and the most convenient way of doing that is by using the authentication state. So how does that work? Well, if I go to this particular place here, I can get the authentication state and the get authentication state async. is something which should be available. That is obviously only available once I inject that. So what I'm doing here is I'm injecting the authentication state provider, which is already configured properly by the project wizard. And now I can get, if I go back here, I can get the authentication state, which will take a bit of time. That's why this is done asynchronously. And now I can set up a variable here, which I will call a username. And the username I can assign now by using this approach. So now I have the username. It will complain a bit that things could be null, but we can get rid of that by using this approach. Okay, so I have the username here. And what I'll do is, oh, wait a sec. I'm still a bit annoyed by these wobbly things. So I'm doing it like this and it's gone. Instead of connecting to the game hub, I will pass the username. And this is obviously something which you should not do on a production environment, but for this test, it's fine. So what I'll do here is I'm going to add user and I'll pass the username in because I need the username to get things going.
Okay.
So here, and this should be included. So I am now passing the username as a query string parameter to the hub of SignalR. And what does this mean? Well, if I go back to this hub and I will change this to get HTTP context request dot query. I will have that username. And I can now remove this one. Let's test that one more time. All right, so as you can see, we are now connected to the hub. It's breaking right on this unconnected async, and what you can also see is that the current user now contains the name. And this is obviously something, I can't mention this enough. This is obviously a security thing. You don't want to do it like this. But for Tic Tac Toe, it's fine.
We'll take our chances.
Exactly. All right, so now we know who is connected. So if we would have published this somewhere online, you could actually log in as well. And I could also see in the hub that you would be connected as well. But now we're going to face another issue because we need to somehow connect the user to this connection ID. And it could be that there are several connection IDs available for the same user. And that is, that is a thing with SignalR. So this is typically something that can happen. It's not really a big deal, but it takes, we need to keep track of those connection IDs which belong to a specific user, so we can actually send messages on a user base. For this, there is some documentation available on the Microsoft side. So I'm switching back and I am here on a page which tells you everything about the problem that I was trying to explain. Mapping SignalR users to connections. What we can typically do is copy over an example, which is right here. I'm going to use an in-memory thing, an in-memory example for this, which is this connection mapping class. And what we can do is just copy this over completely and switch back to Visual Studio and put it in. So what this typically does, it is a list with users, and every element has a user and a collection of connections. So we can actually move or find users by connection IDs. Before this works, we need to copy over a couple of other things from that same document, but let's see. If I scroll here, what we'll see is we have, for instance, this. I'm going to copy over all of it and then remove a couple of things. As you can see, the authorize is put on this demo as well, but I still don't have a clue why we got that 401. So I'm going to comment these out, and what you see is that there are a couple of things. This is an older version of SignalR, which is a bit of a shame. Those methods have been changed. So in this case, it's got to be the unconnected async like this. And then we have the override on disconnected. So what we'll basically do is we'll maintain a list, and that list is updated if somebody connects and if a connection has been dropped.
Okay.
On disconnected like this, and this is going to be a wait, I guess. And this is also AC. Yeah. The on reconnect is not valid anymore, if I'm not mistaken. On no. So we can get rid of this. And then we have to override the unconnected async. Yeah. So what basically happens in a nutshell, I have this connection mapping class. That connection mapping class is updated if somebody connects, and it will again be updated if somebody disconnects.
Okay.
And now, we can actually think about that game. So let me remove. There's obviously one thing I need to change. Instead of using this, I need to use my little tweak, which was this. And we need to do that here as well. And as you can see, I leave the original ones in. If somebody comes up with a solution for this 401 message, I'm all ears.
Yeah, if anybody watching has the information, let us know.
Yeah, so let me know. But anyway, so now we have this list that allows us to, map connections to SignalR users. And now we can actually think about stripping down that game, because now we need to somehow have a couple of things going on. So the first thing that we'll do is we need to have a method which allows us to create a new game. And how can we do that? Well, I can go to create a SignalR method. So this is a method that we can call from any client, which I will call task. It's going to return something, but it's going to return the game state. I'll come to the game state a bit later. Start new game. Let's see what is happening here. This is not entirely what I want, but let's just remove this. I will need that name. So I know who is going to create that game. And now, yeah, we need to do something. Let me get rid of this. We need to do something else because we want to hold a list with games. It could be that there are several games running on the machine. And we need to know which game belongs to what person, basically. So for that, let's create another class, and I will put that in the client. Let's first go to the Tic Tac Toe Razor file because we can do that slightly different. I'm going to create a class. I will put this in a separate file a bit later, which I will call class game state. And I will put a couple of things which are currently here. I will put them in that class so that that class will have a public game ID. There will be a player A ID. And there will be a public player B ID. And let's see what we need more. I'm going to put that board also in here. So I'm going to get that board. This is going to be a public cell status board. I'm going to do this get set as well. And now when I initialize this, I can do that like this. So this is typically the layout for an empty board, which has to start. And let me have a check why there is this thing. Oh, that cell status needs to be public. Yeah. Okay, so here's the first row with 3 columns and the second one, etc., etc. Another thing I'm going to put in is, let's see, I want to know who the winner is. This was typically something that we coded in this application here, but this is going to go. So let me get rid of these. And I need to know whether player B is playing or not. So this is something else that I will be removing here. I'm going to put it right here. So now we will obviously have a bunch of red wobbly lines here. See? And that is because we need to change that. So if we want to make the game still available as it is right now, let's create a private game state. Which is this. Okay, so now I've removed, or I've actually introduced a state component. And this state component, we can send it over to the client and the server as well, because it should be serializable.
Okay.
And it doesn't have anything else except for the state of this particular game. And now let's move that to a different location in the application. I'm going to get it out here. So let's create a new class. I'm going to put it in the client. So game state. And let's get this out of the way. And here we have typically all the information that we need to play the game. Now, is there another thing that we need to do as well? And that is we need to have some sort of an game. Yeah, I'm not sure if engine is the correct name, but some logics depending on the state would be good as well. But we might not need to do that right now. So let's see here. Yeah, one of the other things that we need to do is we need to incorporate that join feature and its start feature. So you need to be able to start a game and you need to be able to join an existing game.
Right.
I think we should see if that works, and then we've done quite a bunch of things. So let's get back to the Tic Tac Toe hub. And the game state here should be able to be resolved as well, by the way. So here is that game state. We can now use that game state on the server as well. So what we can do, let me think. I'm going to comment these ones out. I'm going to create a list of games here. And this can also be a, yeah, it could be static as well. List game state. I'm going to use the same approach as the connections. So this will hold a list with all the games that are currently running. And
Okay.
yeah, there was this method that I have created here. So the start new game should give us a new game. So if I would now go to for game equals new state game, I'm going to give that a new game ID, and the player is going to be the name of the person that initiated this. And with that, I need to add this to the list. This should actually be locked. I mean, it should be thread safe. So let's just do that. Let's add it. And I'm going to return that game that was just added. Let's take a look at that other method as well. So the public async task. Oh, what is that? Task game state. And now I'm going to do the join game. Oh, let's see what Copilot did here.
Oh, Copilot did something?
Yeah, it was just inserting this, and it looks pretty much as I wanted to. So this join game, what you need to do is you need to pass in that game ID from the other game. And then what we're going to do, we're going to look in that list of all the games, and we're going to see if there's a game matching with that ID. If that is the case, the player B is going to be the person who wants to join. We should obviously check if there is not somebody else already in that game. So typically what we would need to do is, like, if game player B is not empty, we should somehow say throw new exception. Sorry, the game is on and you're not.
Oh
I
my
like
God,
that
it's
one.
so, it feels so mean.
I say sorry.
Why do you have to make it so personal? I'm like triggered from my like childhood.
Yeah,
Dang.
Amanda, you have to complain with Copilot. This was out of my hands.
Man, AI is getting too personal.
AI is getting creepy. Yeah. There was a small typo here. It's player B ID, of course. So obviously you need to do something like this. All right. So another thing is that is player B that determines who is on, like player A is playing or player B. But I would rather have player A to start probably. And let me see, do we need to do something else here? No, I don't think so. We might need to lock this as well, technically. I think we have to. Because if two people are more or less trying to join that game on the same time, we have to somehow lock that list.
Right.
All right, so now if I go to my Tic Tac Toe, I'm gonna add a couple of things in the UI. Shouldn't be too difficult, but let's head over here. I have a couple of buttons here. What did I do here? I think we can get rid of this one, I guess, because the DX button looks way cooler. Let's add some buttons here. So this is the restart. So let's do a start button.
That makes sense.
I will give that a name. Start new game. We'll leave the restart for as it is right now, and we will need another button, which is the join game. Let's.
Oh, so when you click join, that'll send a message to the other player, Don?
Yeah, well, typically what will happen if we do the join game, there should be a text box behind it as well. If you hit that join game, you need to send that game ID, and it's going to be sent back to the SignalR hub. And the hub will see whether there is a game with that specific ID. If that's the case, and there is a player A, the SignalR hub will pop a message back to player A, like we can start because the game has two people, so we can start playing. So it's a bit forward and back, but the hub will still be in the middle, basically. So let's say join a game. And the last thing I will need here, let's put a DX text box where I will bind the text to game ID. And that should be enough, I guess. All right, so we have a couple of red wobbly lines, but that is fortunately not a really big deal. I'm going to create a private string game ID which is empty. And I will need a couple of handlers. So I will need the void now async task create new game. Async task join game. So the new game is going to send a message to the, it will call a method on the SignalR hub, which is send async create game. I think that was it, right? It is start new game. And the result of that is a game ID. Or what did it return? Yeah, let's first do it like this. Game ID. And what I'll do, since the return is that game ID, I can assign that right here. What I can also do here is, if I want to join the game, I'll go to hub connection info join game. Let's make this a bit interesting quickly. So wait for opponent. True. So if I create this game, I should not be able to do anything. I can only do something at the moment that somebody else joins.
Okay.
And now I can, for instance, put a new control from DevExpress in, which is coming out as we speak, and which is my small little loading panel. If I put it right here, loading panel. All right, so this will make sure that we cannot click on that thing, on the play field basically. So the waiting for opponents. Oh, the waiting for opponent was something that I named slightly different, I think. Like this. And the message, yeah, let's do a small little message as well. Waiting for opponents to join. So as soon as I start a new game, I will get that loader, and that loader should disappear once somebody has joined.
Okay.
But if somebody has joined, we need to send out this message. So let's first see if how this works. For this, I do need to start up two browsers since I'm now testing locally. So let's first start up the first browser. All right, so now I'm going to boot up the first browser, and I need to register another user as well. So Amanda, I will register you.
You register me?
Yeah, I will just do that. So I'm going to create an account here. Amanda, localhost. Test 1, 2, 3.
What's my password? Just kidding.
Can't tell you. Just mentioned it. It was test 1, 2, 3 with something special. Okay, so you're in. I now go to the home page. Oh yeah, I have to log in again. Amanda, host, test 1, 2, 3. So you're on the list. You see, you're in here.
I am invited.
As you can see, a couple of buttons here. So the start new game, join game, and the DX restart.
All right, Don, that was really cool. I can't wait to see where we go with it next. Maybe I can play on my own machine, have control.
We
What do
will
you-
play.
We will play. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time because that's it for this one. Bye, Don. Bye, everybody.
Bye.